The best F2P tips in Anime Vanguards Update 9. That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Without further ado, let's get started with today's video. Just as a reminder, I want to remind you guys that we are going to be doing an 80 Robux 500 reroll giveaway at 7,000 subscribers, alongside giving away a bunch of shiny units for those that want them. 80 Robux 500 reroll, I mean, that's pretty small, but again, it could still be pretty useful for those that want it. And if you want to be part of this, all you have to do is like and subscribe. Without further ado, let's get this video started. So, talking about the best F2P tips in Anime Vanguards Update 9, there's actually a lot of them, and we're going to start with perhaps the most useful, or one of the most useful. Learn how to macro and then be able to AFK, or basically just be able to AFK and invest more time. So if you're an F2P player in Anime Vanguards, your number one asset is going to always be the amount of time that you can put into the game. So let's actually talk about some of the best game modes that you can AFK or that you can farm, or you can focus your time on. There's basically a few of them, but right now currently the best things that you can farm is going to be the anniversary event, which you could get a bunch of cakes from. And then also you can farm the Sid stage raid for a bunch of burbs. Now burbs are pretty hard to get, at least the perfect burbs are pretty hard to get, but if you could get a pretty decent burb, you can trade that for a decent amount. And especially if you're a free-to-play player, getting these good burbs are actually going to be pretty nice, because even though it's not a perfect burb, you can still trade a good burb for a decent profit. Like for example, you could trade a good burb for something like Kaguya, right? You could trade a good burb for someone like Kaguya, or maybe a good burb for someone like Haruka Rin, or maybe a good burb for someone like Shiny Ragna, and then you could trade that and profit. We're going to talk about trading later on down the line as well, because that is obviously going to be very, very overpowered, probably the most overpowered, but we're going to talk about trading a little bit later down the line. Right now, being able to AFK as a free-to-play player and spending more time farming these stages is the best advice I could possibly give you, because the more you farm these stages, the more of these units you could get, especially with the anniversary event, right? If you could manage to get a serialized shiny Dio over heaven, you are set. People are going to overpay for that. Now, the anniversary event will stay for a while, most likely until update 10 or maybe even longer than that. But if you could manage to get a serialized shiny Dio over heaven, that is probably going to cost more than shiny Diavolo, which means if you could get that, you're probably going to be set for life. You could probably trade for all the bundles in like 3 updates, and that will probably still not be enough. So yeah, getting those rare units, especially rare limited units, is really, really important again for trading as well. Because, I've seen a lot of people trade a ton of bundles for a shiny Diavolo. I've seen a lot of people trade like 5 bundles for shiny Diavolo. And with 5 bundles, you could literally get a bunch of rerolls from that. So yeah, that's literally one of the best advices I could potentially give. Number 2 is going to be participate in the competitive scene. If you are a free-to-play player, participating in the competitive scene is one of the best ways you could earn rerolls. So let's talk about this right now, right? Let's take a look at tournaments right here. Tournaments right here, if you take a look at the leaderboard, the wards, you'll actually be able to see just how much rerolls they can get. At the top one right here, the top one in the leaderboard will be able to give you 50 trait rerolls. And then the traits disabled will be able to give you 50 trait rerolls. Let's say you're able to place a top 1 for both traits and traits disabled. That's literally 100 rerolls weekly. I believe this resets every week. So if you're able to place high, or at least relatively high with the tournaments, you are going to be able to get extra rerolls weekly, especially if you could get the top 1 weekly, or even just top 2, top 3. You could get a bunch of rerolls from that. So again, participating in the competitive scene, not even just in tournaments, but also in infinite leaderboard and world lines as well. Not only will this allow you to get units or shiny units, like for example, the world lines will allow you to get shiny Stark, for example, if you get the top 1 to top 12. Being able to get this right here will be very, very nice, because obviously this will fetch a good value in trading, but also the rerolls that you can get from it. If you can participate in all of the competitive scene, like World Lions, tournaments, and leaderboards, the amount of rerolls that you're going to get from that is plenty, right? That's why you see YouTubers like XOPD being able to, have a ton of Monarch. It's mainly because of how much rerolls you're getting from the competitive scene. But not just rerolls, the units that you can get from competitive scene, units and skins, which you can trade later down the line for tons and tons and tons of rerolls. So that's pretty much why, as a free-to-play player, you should try to build up your accounts and then participate in the competitive scene. I personally don't, because it's a lot of time investment to participate in the competitive scene. But I still believe that if you really are a free-to-play player and you can't spend as much money, then participating in the competitive scene is genuinely a really great tip. Next one is going to be farm everything that you can farm. Like, for example, I made several videos during the time while we were waiting for update 9 to release, talking about how the familiars are very overpowered for farming. Back then, when these familiars were active, you were able to buy rerolls from their quest. Like, you were able to buy 20 rerolls per day from the Vanguard familiar events. And essentially, if you do that and farm that, you could gain several hundred rerolls from the Vanguard familiar events, which is actually very nice. It's not available all the time. It's not available permanently or for a very long period of time. But if you could farm all of these events that are active, like the Elemental Confluence, for example, which I believe is actually resetted. I'm not sure if it resets, but I believe you could still farm it right now. So for those people that haven't farmed it yet, they should farm it, because you are able to get a bunch of rerolls from this, right? For example, first anniversary right here as well. You should evolve all the units. I actually have fallen into a bad habit of not evolving all the units, but by evolving all the units during this update, you will be able to get a bunch of rerolls. I believe if you combine all of this right here, that's at least 100 rerolls right there, or more than 100, because it's 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, and then View Over Heaven is 30. So that's at least 100 to 200 rerolls right there. So farming everything is just very important, and you have to be able to farm everything that you can farm. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is going to be trading. Everything that I've been talking about in this video will boil down or leads down to trading, because every path leads to trading. The ultimate F2P advice that I could give is to trade. Learn how to trade. In most games that has an economy and has a trading system, getting rich is, often done through trading. Even in real life, trading, right? Selling goods is literally the best way to get rich. Buying cheap, selling expensive. Buying cheap, selling expensive is literally the best way to get rich in real life and in most games where there's trading. So essentially, by participating in stuff like, competitive scene, you could get units or skins. You could trade that for by competing in leaderboards. You could get units by farming Dio Over Heaven and potentially getting a serialized version of Dio Over Heaven. You could trade that for a lot of rerolls as well. So every road leads to trading. Burb, if you could get a good burb, that will lead down to trading as well by selling that burb. So every single road leads to trading, because having a lot of units that you can trade will net you a lot of bundles, net you a lot of rerolls as well. So every single path that we're talking about will lead down to trading. So learn how to trade, learn the prices correctly, and master the art of buying cheap and selling expensive. And if you could do that, you are guaranteed to get rich in almost any game with trading. So yeah, buy cheap, sell expensive. That's literally the best advice. You could actually only focus on trading if you wanted to, and you could probably get really rich if you're a really good trader. That's pretty much it for today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.